Perfect timing again. All right. Okay, out of the Paramount Peddling, I guess. Good morning, Megan. Panelist. Are you muted? You're muted.
There we go. Good morning.
Good morning. Let me let Chris in. All right. So did you go on vacation?
I did. This is my first day back.
I know. I saw the note that you're coming back Wednesday.
Yes, yeah. It was much needed, that's for sure. It was
Good
nice.
for you. Mr. LaChance, good morning. Once you unmute, we'll hear you too.
Got to take my yeah, I had to take it off mute. Good morning, guys. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back, Megan.
Thank you.
Hey, we had a great month of Paramount Title last month.
Yeah, it's definitely busy coming into all the emails, seeing all of them closed. It's nice to see.
Nice, very good. Okay, well, I'm excited because we've got a group of people that are trying to work their butts off to get listings. And we inspired them to find people and to start farming and get really aggressive on the listing side. And Chris and I did a tour of this program a couple weeks ago. And this is just another tool. We got Rebind as something that we use. And then we've got Forewarn, we've got another thing called Bin Verified, all these ways to find people and their contact information. And you guys have another program for us called, what's it called? We're calling it Title
Toolbox.
Title Toolbox. So without further ado, Chris, why don't you and Megan show us what, well, first of all, explanation. The Florida Agency Network is a group of title companies. How many? 80 or 40, I think. 38.
30, I know I think it's 30 something, 32, 30, 35.
So we make up 32 to 35 title companies across the state of Florida under different brand names, all started by Hillsborough Title. And then Paramount Title is really Hillsborough Title 2 LLC, is what it's called, doing business as Paramount Title. So we're all part of one big network. And so the Florida Agency Network has a lot of resources and tools to make their agents more successful. And being a part of that network, we get to share in that. So we thank you for your tools and your access to things that we wouldn't have access to if we were part of a smaller network. So another benefit of using Paramount Title. And you guys have some really cool technology and you're super secure with your SOC 1 and your SOC 2 credits. You're on the website with the escrow money on demand, which is so simple. You just, instead of having to write a check and then drive it somewhere and drop it off, we used to have to do. Just boom, all done. But that's not what we're here to talk about. I just want to give you a nice introduction. And I guess, Chris, take it away.
And one thing I do want to add is obviously we always try to bring different tools and services that we find in the industry. Keep in mind, you know, and Craig knows this, and he's always recommended certain programs and stuff for us to utilize to, or to at least demo. But if you ever see something and you're like, hey, Megan, this other title company has this, you guys need to look into it, or you need to develop something that will help us in our career if you help, you know, if you guys had access to this. So always keep that in mind, because obviously we're always looking to grow, and we know there's new technology out there, especially in the world we live in now. There's every single month there's something new. So if you see that, let us know. Obviously Craig is a big advocate and he always relays stuff as well. So let one of us know and we'll explore it. All right. Yep. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Let me see. All right. So I'm going to share it. Craig, hopefully it doesn't mess up your side.
Nope.
Okay. All right. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. It should be a screen, a map. You know, that's what you should see at this point.
Well, that's what we see.
So this, as Craig kind of mentioned, it's our new farming tool. Okay. One thing I do want to hit on is that this is, it's definitely more geared for the desktop version. You could use it on your cell phone, but just because of the data and the views of it, you know, you're going to be better off using it on your desktop computer. So just keep that in mind. We do get questions a lot. Is this an app that we can use? It is not, but it is mobile friendly. But just again, keep that in the back of your mind if you do try that out. Second thing,
well, actually, if doing this type of work, it's easier on the desktop anyway.
Yeah, perfect. And keep in mind too, if this is something you're like, hey, I want to get access to this, who do I go to? go to Megan. So shoot Megan a message. She will get you signed up for it. If you even go to this website, if you look at the website that it's on right now, you still have to go through somebody at Paramount Title to get registered for it. So again, if this is something of interest, absolutely do it. And just so you know, everything I'm going to show you for the most part on this site, it's free. Okay. So it's not like you have to sign up, you're going to pay a fee, and then let's say you never use it. So just keep that in the back of your mind. It is free to you. There are a couple of little add-ons that you would pay for. And I'll go through those examples and kind of, you know, talking with Craig about that. That's a way that you can truly narrow in on some of the farming pieces of it. So just keep that in mind. Go to Megan if this is something that looks interesting. So,
And Megan just put her
there's a
email
couple of
in
things.
the chat, just so you know, write it down.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, Megan. Yeah, that's perfect. All right. So again, as Craig said, I know that you guys use Remind. There's all these different farming tools out there. A company kind of came out from, so this one's based out of California. The name of it is Title Toolbox. So we have it as references Fan Title Box. But that's where it was kind of generated from. And just so you know, the data on here, you can pull it from almost any other state in the country. So let's say you do move, but let's say you're still working with Craig. You still have access to similar data that I'm going to show you here in Florida. So you have access throughout the state of Florida and beyond that. So just keep that in mind, especially if your career kind of changes paths a little bit. And as Craig continues to grow the C21 Beggins brand. So one thing I want to show you. So if you look here, I'm going to show you a couple of examples here. Usually the demo takes about 30 minutes, but please ask questions. Throw questions on the chat. Megan will help me monitor that, and then I can kind of go into some examples on it. All right, so right off the bat, when I open it up, this is my view, okay? So let's say that I'm looking into going after a specific property. Maybe I'm about to do a new, a listing pitch or, do an open house. Maybe I want to pull a property report, all that fun stuff. So with that being said, if I were to do that, all I had to do is I could hit up there. There's a little button up here at the top that says property search, or I can search the address right here in this search for an address panel. Now, one thing I want to show you is if I hit on this property search, I have the option to put in the address, or let's say I'm working with an investor and I want to put in their name, okay? So then I would click this. Obviously, I can put in their company name or their first and last name, and I would put in their county that they're located in, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind. You do have that option to search for particular owners, especially if you think they have multiple properties and you want to try to market every single one of them. You also could search by parcel if you wanted to, if you had that as well, okay? So I just wanted to kind of show you that. You do have options for that. So one thing I want to, so what I'll do is I'll just kind of do a quick example. I'm just going to type in an address. And as you can see, it's going to just start kind of pulling up, what it thinks I'm trying to type, okay? So let's just go off this first property right here. It's in St. Pete, okay? If I click on that, it's now going to identify that property on the map. So fairly quick. Now I have a couple of options just for this one property, okay? So I could do, let's say I want to see the detailed view of this property, okay? Right off the bat, and it is going to load for a second. It will pop up in just a second, the images of the property, but it is going to show me the property, the map view, and then from here, you're going to see I have a couple of tabs at the top. Again, fairly easy, simple, general, who's my owner of this property? It's going to tell me right there of record what their owner is, and it's also going to identify right off the bat, is it owner occupied or not, okay? Location, tax information, property, it's going to tell me about the sale of the property, so when it was most recently sold. And then from here, it is going to talk about finances. So is it free and clear, or is there some type of mortgage on the property? In this scenario, there is. And then if there is anything of foreclosure that has been filed, okay? So at risk also tries to pull additional data based off of the property to see, is this property at risk? Call it flood. Is there anything under the, out of the ordinary and stuff like that. Now in this scenario, it does say no special flood area. So it's telling you no on that. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of show you that briefly. That is the description of the property and what it's going to go from there. All right, let me just close out of this. From here, if I want to generate a report on this property alone, I could hit generate a report right here. This is now where it's going to either generate a report based off the profile with the comps, a single page profile, or a lead sheet. Okay. So profile with comps, if I generate this, it's going to take just a second. Once it loads, I can then hit generate. Let's see. Here's all the items down here, some of the comps and stuff. And then from here, generate profile. Okay. So then it's going to, give me a nice detailed view. Okay. But I want to go back out. I want to show you something else on this. I'm going to go back again, just going right back to here. Single page profile. If I want to do that, generate report, same items. And once you do one property, okay, so I'll tell you that. Once you do one search for a specific property, or once you do one farming area, which I'm definitely going to show you that as well, it's very easy. It's all the same process. Okay. So again, and I have this option here. If I want to view the report, it's going to immediately show me the report. Here's my information. Boom, I could print that and be done. Okay. So same thing if I want to email it out as well. Okay. One of the other things is generate the report. Here, actually, I wanted to see here. And that's going to generate it. I did get a quick message. How do you generate that report? I hit that. Obviously, it's generating this report now. This is the one with the profile with the comps. It's then going to give me the same option. Do I want to send it via email, or do I want to open it up right there and view it? Okay. And I don't know if you guys can see it on my screen. It is spinning, but here is the view. Keep in mind, this is not the property photo. As much as I would love, and I've asked the developer, is there any way we could get a shot of the front of the home? He says, if every home had a photo like this online, it's doable. The problem is, and you guys know it better than I do, these photos aren't available on every property, especially if it hasn't sold in the last 10 years. So just keep that in mind, but you can always switch this out, okay? And keep in mind, here's your, oh, sorry, Craig, say that again.
I just see gated communities don't, my house doesn't pull up on Google Maps.
Oh, yep. So, but just in case, keep that in mind. And this, so you can always switch out this cover page. I've had some people do that. They create their own cover page, then they do this property profile report. They change this out, and then they use everything else from here. So again, this is going to tell you everything about the property, the owners, the mailing address, owner occupied, you name it, property characteristics. It's even going to go down into depth on the comps because I did select that as well, and it's going to go from there. And again, here's the title change, mortgage information, so forth and so on. Okay.
Do you think that
So
mortgage
again, just
information
wanted
is
to show you
relatively
that.
accurate?
Yes. And we've done, so we've actually worked with some lenders, and they were, we've done some trainings with specific brokers, and they would pull the data. We would use examples, and 98% of the time it was updated, as long as it's being filed properly. But it was being properly done.
Nice.
So, and again, remember, a lot of this information that they're pulling, it is coming from CoreLogic. CoreLogic is one of the largest data providers in the country. So that's where a lot of this data, especially like mortgage information, property characteristics, that's where a lot of that's coming on. So just keep that in mind.
So like for practical purpose, if you're going on a listing presentation, you want to pull a property profile report on that house just so you have the knowledge going in, and say, oh, by the way, your mortgage is 412, you put it on the market for 450, it's gonna be really close. Right?
Exactly. And it could be one of those things too. It could be, obviously you're coming in with then you could do the net sheet. You could actually do the net sheet for them, like, hey, your loan balance looks like it's this amount, unless if you paid it off recently and maybe they didn't satisfy it yet. So keep that in mind too. I mean, a lot of times we do that, at Paramount Title, we track it and we make sure it is satisfied. But sometimes some lenders don't. And especially kind of in the market we're in, I hope we don't have that issue again to where lenders aren't doing that, but it might be good to at least show that you do know about their property, kind of like Craig said. So kind of you've done the homework on them. So So that is on the property report. So fairly simple on that. Now, one thing I do want to show is, let's say you, again, I'm still narrowing in on this specific property. Let's say you have this listing, you know, you're doing open houses, all that fun stuff. But let's say you want to try to target people around this property. Okay. So you'll see up at the top, it says phone and email lookup. I don't want that. What I want to do is I want to do.
No, we want that. You got to demo that.
I'm going to
for
show
us,
you
too.
that in another example. I am going to show that in another example here, I promise. But what I want to show you on this one specifically, if I hit this pull down, this gives me some of the same options as it does in the middle of the screen. So I have the generate report, which I just did, the detailed view, the comparable views, all that. What I want to show you is I want to show you the nearby neighbors. Okay. So if I click on that, right off the bat, it just gives me a default of 10 homes. That's going to kind of be nearby neighbors of this property. But let's say 10, I don't want 10, I want 30. Okay. I want to hit search. Now it's going to pull data of 30 nearby homes. Now, the radius, don't overlook this circle here. The radius obviously is showing us there's tons of properties. But if I zoom in some, okay, it's going to show me the 30 properties it's selected. Obviously, I'd have to go back and see exactly number one. I think number one is the property I searched.
It is.
Okay. So then if I scroll through, here's my 30 homes that I pulled. Now, go a step further. And again, you'll see this on other examples I'm going to do here in a bit, but you'll see there's blue and green. And hopefully you guys can see that on your side. I know sometimes it's hard when we're doing kind of a video platform, but there is a blue one. Number 29 is blue. That means it's non-owner occupied. So you may say, hey, in the market we're in, I'm going to go after all properties that are non-owner occupied. So if I scroll down, here's my number 29. It's blue as opposed to green. If I click on it, okay, let's just say I want to just look at some of the data here. Right off the bat, you're going to see what it sold for. Now this one sold 1.8 million in 2022. But you'll see, I can see who the owner is. And if I hit the tab over, my little arrow, it's going to then show me some of the property characteristics. Okay. So obviously there's additional data I can pull on that, but just using that as an example to where now I can narrow in, like, I'm doing an open house at number 1, but I want to target somebody else. And maybe number 29 isn't a great example because they just bought it. But look, you can see just off these 30 properties, how many of them were purchased back in the 90s. I mean, we have one in 1987, you know, so it's like you can almost try to target some of these properties. Yeah, what do you wish to be, that guy, right?
Right.
Guy or girl, you know, just to be, yeah, it's Donna. Yeah, that she's sitting on a little bit of a gold mine there. In 1986, 100 grand. So yeah, so then you may say, okay, I want to target those properties specifically. And what's the chances? I mean, and remember, we only looked at 30 homes in this small little neck of the woods. Now, let's say from here, you're like, all right, cool. I want to pull it into a mailing list. I want to shoot out postcards and all that fun stuff. Keep in mind, everything I've done so far is free. I haven't done anything on this site that would cost you any money. So again, if Megan gives you access to it, this is all free to you, okay? So let's say I want to download this list. If I want to do that, I could hit this export button up at the top. Then from here, I could put in a CVS Excel report, and then I can then, you know, utilize that. I also have the option, I can put in the Avery 5160, which is the traditional postcard label stamp. And then it would format it and then put it from there. On a side note, it's also going to show you if it's non-owner occupied, it's going to give you the mail-in address that is of record for that property owner. So if they live in Texas, when you do the mail-in list, it's going to pull the Texas address for you. It's not going to go to the renter. So keep that in mind. That also helps as well. So again, you have options to download it into an Excel spreadsheet right here, and it's going to pull all the data on this list. So you have that option. Okay.
What is the
Other
Facebook?
things you can do is you can. Oh, say that again.
Click down. It's in Facebook. What does it do with Facebook?
So Facebook, it tries to identify the property owners to where then you could add them to a kind of a what's it called on Facebook? Kind of like a
Messenger.
specific target list, and then advertise to them. So what it's going to do is it's going to try to identify the names, and it's going to try to pick up if any of them actually have a Facebook account.
Wow, so you can
And then
message
that
them.
way, you could do
Wow.
that, or if you do Facebook marketing, you know, and again, I don't dabble too much into that, but if you do Facebook marketing, you utilize a company that does, you then can provide them with this list. They then can add these specific owners to that drip, you know, if you have like a drip campaign or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the
just other
CSV
ways to try to
Michael,
get in front of them.
CSV is on the first option. You can get a CSV report from Moxie, yes. I'm just answering chats as they come through.
If that downloads quick, I'll, oh, that actually did.
And
Craig,
just like
tell me
Jim,
if you see this,
yeah.
there
so-
is the Excel. Can you see that?
Yes. Yeah, so you just copy
And
the
again, you'll
column that's
see-
relevant, put it into the Moxie template, and you can put it right into your Moxie.
Yeah, and all the data's here. So again, it pulls everything on the specific property for those, and then it goes from there. And remember, they're pulling a lot of this data from the county records. So whatever the county records has of that property is what they're pulling. So keep that in mind. So that's where it even shows fireplace, you know, so so keep that in mind. But we do have the owners. It does show me owner occupied right here. And again, remember, so that owner occupied, just to show you the example, here's their mailing address, and they're in New York. So that's where they're located. Okay, but it does pull that as well for you. Okay.
That is super
So
slick.
that is on that. Yeah, and it's quick and easy. You know, again, you could grab what you want to use, take it and run with it. You could sort it based off of when the property was sold, go after those targets. You know, again, with Excel, you can do quite a bit with. So let me go back here. All right, so one other thing I want to show you on this, and then I want to jump into the farming side. Love the questions coming in, so please keep asking questions. And again, just keep in mind, I'm kind of doing kind of an overview of the database. There are other cool little tips and trips of it. So if after the call today, you want to try to jump on a separate call, get with myself or Megan, and we could definitely do that as well. So one other thing, so based off of these 30 properties, now it's not a big capture rate, so I just want you to know that. But if I want to hit new possible leads, okay, new possible leads means that it's going to go it's going to go to the county website, and it's going to try to identify if anything has happened, any type of life event has happened to this property. Okay, so what I mean by that, so let me just click this for you. So out of the last 12 months, now this example isn't great. I'm going to show you one with a larger group just to have a better example. But let's just say if there was a divorce that was filed. Let's say that there was a lien filed on a specific property. Let's say there was a judgment, a bankruptcy. It would then, if I wanted to, I could access which property that is, and then I can narrow into that, okay? So again, it helps with that. I can even narrow this down to the last 3 months as that happened in this section. Now, again, I'm gonna show you a better example of this when I do the farming, but I just want you to see that. Like, what if I did pull this and somebody just had a lien filed on their home? Or one of these properties just went through a divorce, or they just filed for divorce. It might be an opportunity for you in a nice way. You guys are the salespeople, so I'll let you guys determine that. But reach out to them to see how can we list your home since now you're going through that life change. Okay. So again, that's just one other way that it's trying to help you farm and actually have good leads to go after rather than just say, hey, I'm just going to mail out 5,000 postcards and hope somebody calls back. In this scenario, it's better off for you to spend a couple of dollars, grab the data, and go after those specific agents or specific properties.
Hey, Chris, will you
So
also
I'll show a
offer
better example of that.
how often the system is updated?
It's updated. So what they're telling us is every 24 hours, they say it's updated. So with the county records and the databases. So it just at what they've told me is at 12 a.m., the middle of the night, it updates the database. So as long as the county sites and everybody else that they're pulling through is up to date, that's when they're pulling that data. So it's constantly doing a scrub of all the data. So, but great question. All right, so that is kind of specific on a property how I could then go further down that rabbit hole and try to find a key person to go after. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to go back here again. The main tools are at the top here. I'm going to go to Farming. Okay. So I'm going to clear my search. It's going to take me back to a basic screen. Again, it's going to take me here. Now I'm located in St. Pete, so I'm just going to keep it here. But remember, I'm on a map view. Okay. So I could zoom in, zoom out. Obviously, we can go to your guys' beach area, down to Apollo Beach, you name it. But I know you guys cover everywhere. Okay. So if I wanted to, let's say I want to dive back in. Let's say I just want to narrow back in. Let's call it in St. Pete. Okay. So I have two options for farming that I want to really show you guys. Okay. So if I hit farming, again, if I want to start with a specific address and then farm from there, I can do that. Okay. And that's where I could just type in the actual address. Now, if I want to do a radius and I just want to do a catch, okay, I could do this. I could hit a radius and I literally just drop a pin. So as you can see, when I hit radius, I now have a green pin. If I hit drop, it's now going to grab for that. Okay. Now, if I hit my default, because that's what it's defaulted at, it's just in that cover range. Now, if I just wanted it within a mile range, it could do that. Now, again, as you can imagine, we have a ton of properties in this area. Okay. So you could go all the way up, but one thing I would recommend, if you're doing farming on this, limit the size of your search because it's all data. And if you try to download a list that's 5,000 properties, it's going to take some time. So I don't want you to feel like the system's slow. It might even stall out. So what I would say is do small farm areas because then you're going to get the data fairly quick. You know, do a couple hundred, and I'll try to do an example like that here just in a second. But just remember that. Don't try to do an entire zip code or entire city because it's going to take a long time to download that data. Okay. But let me go back to the default. And what you'll see is, again, I'm on the radius. Okay. There's a green dot right here. So there's two green little pin marks. If I take this little green one on the outside, I can, make my radius smaller. Okay. So let's say I didn't want that big as a default. I could do this. I can then even drag this. Let's say I want to hit these few properties on the edge of the water. I can do that. And then obviously I can pull it back out. Once I do that, all I would do is double click and it's going to finalize my search and go from there. Okay. So that's on there, but I want to show you the boundary search as well, because then the findings of it are going to be exactly the same. So I'm going to just clear that search. I'm going to go back up here to farming. If I hit boundary, then I have a pin again. Okay. So this is where I can draw any type of shape I want, and I could capture those properties. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to try to capture, I'm going to draw a pin, drop one right here. I'm going to just left click it, and now it drops my first pin. I could go all the way down and say, okay, I want this batch of properties all the way down to here. I'm going to bring it out to here. Again, I could do any shape I want. Once I'm done with that, I can just double click it. Okay.
Right.
Again, before I click it again, I could slide this still. If I grab the green one in the middle, I can slide this slightly. So keep that in mind. I have that ability. Okay. So once I know where I want my property and where I want it located, at this point, I could say, cool. Now I'm going to hit next right up here. And then from here, all I hit is count. At that point, it's generated how many properties are within my search criteria. Okay. Right off the bat, I show I have 609 properties that it found. Okay, in that section. Now, from here, let's say, okay, I don't want to hit on 609 people. Okay. I want to narrow it down. I want to be specific. Okay. I want it to have, so this is where these little items at the top, right? This is where I want to make sure it has to have at least greater than or equal to 2 bathrooms. Okay. Let's say that the square footage of the house has to be greater than or equal to 1,400 square feet. Again, I'm going to go smaller than that just to have a good sample size because this area, I know they have some small bungalows and stuff. So I'm going to say 1,000 square feet. But again, I can even do year built. So if you're looking for newer construction, stuff like that. Now, again, if I hit get count,
Well,
It's gonna
also if you had a buyer,
reanalyze.
if you had a buyer that wanted a certain house in a certain neighborhood, you could do a search that for them too. Look, these are all the houses that are available that are 1,400 square feet with at least 2 bathrooms. And now you got a target list.
Yeah, and to take a step further, Craig, you could also, maybe they do want a newer home versus an older home. So you could say, cool, it needs to be, you know, greater than 2000,
1980 to get rid of the floodplain
yeah.
restrictions.
Yeah, 100%. So you could always do that to eliminate that for your client.
That's
Now, what
like,
it did is once I hit get count, I'm at 520. So it did eliminate about 100 properties. Now, let's just say I want to go back to the 690 or whatever it was. See these little, so here's my criteria, you know, here's where all the little characteristics I put in. Now, let's say I want to go back. I could just hit the little red X if I'm like, I don't care about the bathrooms, how many they have. I just care about the build inside. I could literally hit this remove, and it's going to remove the bathrooms or the numbers that I put in. So remember, it's that easy to then go back through and say, do a new search on it, okay? And if I go through all these other items, you know, tax assessments, maybe I want to see if there's a property that is delinquent in their taxes. I could do that. Obviously, as we've kind of done these demos with some of the lenders, that's where they picked up on some of this material as well. So if you work with a specific lender, you know, that's where you could also utilize that. Obviously, from here, you could do custom filters too and go from there. Now, before I show you the premium data, I want to show you something on here. So obviously, I got the count. Now I just want to download and view the records. Okay, now it's going to take me back to that same view. So as you can tell, it is doing the same process as before that I did that first time. Okay, and if I zoom out, it may not let me, but if I zoom out,
it's
it's gonna
pointing
be
out your
other
absentee
items as
owners,
well.
which is super cool too.
Yeah. So and so this hopefully will give us a better sample when it comes to, you know, all of the different properties. Obviously, you can see all these blues. So there's quite a bit of non-owner occupied. Same thing as before. Remember, it's the same area. And if I want to just go to the next page, I can. It's right here. Obviously, at that point, I could export this just like I did before. If I want to save this search, because this is the one that I'm always working on, I could do that as well. Name it a specific item and go from there. I think before I do one other step, but that's on there. One thing I do want to show you. So let's try the new possible leads. So if I want to do this, this is where I'm hoping to get a hit. All right, perfect. So out of that, I think it was roughly 600 properties. Over the last 3 months, there's been 23 cash buyers. Now, again, they add that to this database, the developer did, because they looked at it like, hey, if they were a cash buyer, it could be a good opportunity because they have cash. So maybe they're an investor. You may want to go after them. So that's where their mindset is when it comes to cash buyers. That's why they list those out. So just keep that in mind. That's why that one's there. But here are the ones that I think we would want to know about. There's 4 liens on 4 different properties. There's 1 bankruptcy, and there's 1 lis pending, which then leads to foreclosure. Okay. So this is where if it's like, hey, I want to truly narrow in on a specific property, and I want to, in this area, I want to go after it. What's my greatest chance that somebody's going to list a home for sale in the next 6 months? Well, my guess would be, if I had to guess out of all these, it's probably going to be the list. It's going to be one of these 6 properties, you know, and it depends on those liens. A lien could be maybe maybe they redid the roof, but maybe they didn't get it paid off yet, and they maybe filed a lien based off of that. So keep that in mind. But there is a bankruptcy, you know, and anytime that happens, especially in the world we're living in, prices are going up. That might only get worse. Okay. So let's say I want to say, okay, I want to narrow it on the bankruptcy one. I want to go after that potential owner and go from there. Now, remember, everything I've done so far on the site is free. This is what we want to offer to you guys. It's free. Now, when you start doing items like this is where there is a cost because of RESPA and all that fun stuff. But it's cents. So it's pennies. Okay. But this is where if you narrow it in on a specific area and then you buy it, that's where you may say, great, I'd rather spend the money here than spending $300 a month on mail-ins. Okay. So if I hit this buy property on the bankruptcy, what I did is I also preloaded my my credit card on here. they only let you do a charge of $5, no less than $5. So keep that in mind. Your credit card's not going to be charged for 12 cents. They're not going to do that. What they're going to do is say, hey, at least upload $5, and then you could use that until it empties and then reload a new amount. What I did is originally, when I do all these trainings, I did $100, and I think I'm down to $80 now, but that's all been training wise, but just keep that in mind. Now, one thing to kind of keep in mind, obviously, I can now narrow in a little bit further on that property if I wanted to. Let's say I want to get the phone and the email address. Now, Craig and I tried this sample. They pull through a third-party company. So it's not 100% accurate, but it is a potential option for you. And I know there's other apps out there that you guys might use also for phones, for the phone number for a property owner. If you already use that, if it's cheap, if it's free, stick to that. But just in case if you're looking for another option and you want to try this one to see, again, I've tried it on certain properties. It's hit the number exactly, the mobile. Again, we've done other examples. It doesn't hit it and it gives you a wrong number or gives you a home number or a landline that's been gone for years. So just keep that in mind when you look at that.
Hey,
Again,
let me comment
here.
on RESPA comment because it's important. The title companies are not allowed to give away things of value in anticipation of gaining business. It's against the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, right? So that's why they can't give it to you for free because there's a law that says we can. But other title companies don't follow the rules, and some people are giving out gifts and discounts and kickbacks and rebates. And just know if you're participating in that, it's illegal and you can lose your real estate license. So it's a heavy thing to be compliant with the law. And we are.
Thank you, Craig. Yeah, and I love that you brought that up because again, you know, we have a compliance officer, we do the checks, we want to make sure to not only protect you and your clients from fraud, but also from anybody doing something wrong to where we all could lose our license. So obviously we go by the book. We have a COO that he's an attorney and he literally is in contact with the state monthly just to make sure that we're always on the up and up. We want to stay right in line with everything. We never want to do something in the gray to where then it kind of prevents us from doing business. So Craig, I appreciate you kind of saying that as well, just because, you know, it does matter. And we do see people getting fined out there and losing licenses. So, you know, it does happen. So, so on here, you'll see the phones and emails. Okay. So if I want access to this, maybe I want to try to get both their phone and their email. Now in this little blurb here, I won't read it all the way through, but it's going to pick up a phone number, I think about 65% of the time. Okay. An email address that'll pick it up maybe about 35% of the time. Keep in mind too, it will only charge you if it actually finds a phone number of record on that property address. If there is nothing of record on that property, you're not going to get charged. Okay. But what I want to show you is I'm going to get count. I click this little button here that says both phone and emails. It's going to tell me what is the most potential, and see on this one, it's not going to allow me to do it because I'm doing one basic one. But it would tell me that if I had this one property I was trying to do this at, it would then generate it based off of that. Okay. And it would charge me probably 15 cents if it found not only a phone and an email address. Actually, it'd be cheaper than that. It would be 12 cents. Okay. So let me go back here. I want to hit buy again. So I just wanted to show those examples for you on that. Okay. For whatever reason, it is not pulling my property on here. Let me try one of the liens. Give me a sec. Okay. So this is showing of record. So one of those properties, it was able to identify the 4 liens. It's going to show me that based off of that, it would cost me 75 cents for that document to identify which property has a lien on it. Now from here, I could also say I want the phone, and I could go over here to the premium data. But let me just get this count now. Let me just hit the pay now and show you the example, okay? But again, this was on one of the liens. I hit buy, brought me here. I got the count. From here, I'm going to hit pay now. Now again, remember, I preloaded my card. It's on there. It's not going to let you do anything lower than $5. So if this is something you may want to explore at times, throw $5 on your credit card and it's going to take it. Now from here, I'm just going to hit pay secure, and I'm going to go through the process just to show you exactly what it's going to show. I'm going to display the record. So from here, remember, it's one of those properties that actually has the database. So here's the property. If I zoom out a little bit, you can see it on the map. It's smack right here in my search. This is the property. And then from here, if I tab over, it's going to tell me everything about the property. So they bought it in 2013. They paid $366 for it. Here is the square footage with the bathrooms. And then it's going to show me what kind of lien it is. Now, this one, obviously, it's telling me it's a violation of the city. And so far, it's $1,400 is the lien on this. And actually, they've had 2 liens filed on this property, one in April, one in May. So it looks like they keep getting tacked $350 per month on whatever they're not doing. Maybe they're not mowing the lawn. Maybe they're not doing something specific. But again, this is just one example of, this could have been a much larger lien. This could be a $90,000 lien, and it could give you that opening to it. And again, with the same thing with the new possible leads, it also could show you, is there a divorce? Is there a bankruptcy? Is there a lis pendens? Just like the ones I showed you. And then you can narrow in on that. And again, all I could do from there, I could export this and then modify it from there. Now, if I wanted premium data, maybe if I wanted to try to find their phone number, let's say this lien was something worse. If I hit premium data, this is where if I click on the phone and email, I hit both, it's going to give me the count. This is where it's going to tell me, okay, so remember, a phone number, if they find it, costs me 5 cents. The email address, if they can locate it, costs me 7 cents. Okay, so that's where this number here, if you guys can see it, is 12 cents. Okay, so if I want to hit pay now, just to show you guys the example, I load it, hang on one second. And remember, it is only going to charge my card if it identifies and locates those 2 items. If it does not, it will not do it. So again, same thing, hold my same property with the lien. Now, if I scroll over some, I always end up missing it. So tell me if you see it. It does not have a phone or email address. So because of the record that was here, it would show up right around here. So this one I did not get charged for. The data is not here. But if it had the phone and the email, it would be showing right here. Okay. It would show me, and it would show me if there's multiple ones on the property. Okay. So any questions on that?
Well, we're using a program now called Bin Verified and one called Forewarned. Forewarned is $79 a year. And Bin Verified, I think it's $20 a month. So this is a cheaper alternative if you're going to be hunting that. Depending on
especially if it is 100%. Yeah, just keep that in mind. Again, they go through a third-party company just like all these other ones. So it all just kind of depends on that. Okay.
Yeah.
One other example I do want to show, and then I definitely want to open it up to any questions. One question we've had in the past is, hey, if there's a condo building and I do a sale within that condo building, will this help me also pull all the owners for that building so then I could target those specific people? The answer is yes. Now what I would do is boundary search. Got my little pin. Now I'm in downtown St. Pete, so forgive me if I hit the wrong building, but Ovation is a condo building that has residents. So I'm going to outline Ovation, okay? So let's just say I want to get everybody in that building. Let's say I just sold a unit there. If I hit next, I hit get count. So in this scenario, again, my lines might not have been perfect, but we have done it on certain buildings that we know the exact count. We've done the search, we got the exact number of units in that building, and then we were able to pull it. So just keep that in mind. I don't know Ovation. I don't know if there's 43 properties alone. I know they're massive units, but that's where I don't know that. But let's say this is the full amount. If I hit download view records, then going to pull up the data. So again, here is the data. There's 43. Same thing. Blue is non-owner occupied. Green is owner occupied. Shows me all the suite numbers or unit numbers. Shows me when people buy. Again, as you guys can see, the exact same thing that it's shown in the past. Same thing if I want to go through the same drill, new possible leads. Again, because this is free up until this point, I could go from there. And if I want to download this, export this out, and I want to target every one of those agents or every one of those homes specifically, I can then do that based off of the farm-in feature as well. So I wanted to at least show you this because we've had this question. And one other thing I'll hit on, and then let's open it up for any additional questions. It does do commercial properties as well. So if you are dabbling in the commercial space, it will pick up the commercial information. Obviously, the developer, when they built this, they were building it for residential. So just keep that in the back of your mind. It was built for residential, but it does have the ability to pull commercial information as well on commercial properties. So I think that's it. I mean, again, I tried to go fairly quick just to kind of stay within the hour, kind of show you some of the examples. But as you can see, the main thing is I can search a property. I can do a profile sheet on that specific property and bring it to a listing agreement or an open house or something like that. I can pull properties in that area. I can pull phone numbers, leads, liens, bankruptcy, anything, any life-changing event for that property, and then kind of go from there. And then again, I just showed you the example of the farm-in feature to kind of target those as well. So want to open it up, see if there's any questions.
There is a question there. It says, can you put in the name of the condo instead of map the area?
So the only way you might potentially do that, which I don't even think that would work, would be the owner, but the owner is going to be the individual owners. So you could maybe put in the address of the condo building. So let's say, I forget what that ovation was. If you knew it was 123 Main Street, St. Petersburg, as long as you don't put in the suite number, it's going to identify that. So if that makes sense. So if you put in the address, and I could try to do a quick example of that too, on ovation. But that's a way you might be able to pull it by just putting in an address and identifying. But an owner wouldn't work on that piece. So here, a good question. What other question as I'm going through there? Sorry, to clear this out. Oh, here it is. Sorry, wasn't even looking. To clear it. Nope. There, guys. I'm doing a boundary. I just want to see what this address is, and then we'll do a quick example for you guys. As you can see how quick I'm going through, just kind of getting the count. 43 properties popped up again.
It's 178 Beach Drive.
So all we put in was 178 Beach Drive. Now in this scenario, it only pulled the 3 properties. So we know there's more than that, but that's all it pulled on that one. But it might pull more based off of the records. Now, again, I could always do the nearby neighbors, and then I could capture it based off of that as well.
And also keep in mind, Chris and I were playing around with this for Jeff, and we found out that the only out of the country it's going to pull is Canada. So if you have like for example, the Harbor project that we closed back in November, we had some that were German owners. They're not going to show up on this. It's not going to show us because their mailing address is in Germany. But if they were Canadian, it pulls them in and anybody in the States. But we found out that it's not pulling in anybody who's in Ireland or Italy or Germany, anybody who's out of the country that way, it's not going to pull them up. So if you do need anybody with records like that, let me know. I can reach out to Chris. He was able to get some information for Jeff that we got for the Germany owners, but this system isn't going to pull those people up.
Great, yeah, and thank you, Megan, for pulling that up. Yeah, it was this database we've had access to since probably about the beginning of April. So obviously we've gotten a lot better with it, what it can do, what it can't do. But if you have a question, let us know. Get with Megan, because that was a question that kind of came up. We didn't know that it only provided people in the United States and then people in Canada on their mailing address if they are non-owner occupied. But it was great for us to know. And obviously that we do have other ways we can get data, which we were able to successfully do that in that one scenario. So we do have other providers that we can always go to if it is a special case scenario. So
How do you get access?
how do you get access to this?
Mhm.
So Megan, so please reach out to Megan. So Megan, if you can just type your email address in there again, just in case, or I can copy it for you real quick. So reach out to Megan, and then just let her know that you want to have access to Title Toolbox, or you could say fan title or Paramount title box, however you say it, or you were on the call this morning, you want access to this, shoot her a quick message. She'll get you access to it. And then what I would do is just start to play around with it. If you want a one-on-one, maybe you dive into it and you're like, I have no clue what he did to do this, but I want access to this. Let us know. We'll jump on a quick call and we can help get that taken care of. So any other questions? Anything else I can kind of show you guys on the site?
Guys, does this make sense for what we talked about on Monday? Picking out the farming areas, or Chris talked about yesterday too. Picking out your farming areas, putting your database together. I mean, for 7 cents, you get an email address, possibly bad one. Woo, fantastic. And you set up a Moxie farm. I gotta lower my computer now because I got this footer. Drives me crazy. Neato. Well, thank you guys for bringing this to us. I think it's a super neat tool.
Absolutely. Michael, you raised your hand. Do you have a question?
Regina, I'll answer yours real quick. Is all of this in the Fan Agent app or a different site? So this is different from the Fan Agent app. So the Fan Agent app is our NetSheet program. This is a separate tool. It's the Title Toolbox. Title Toolbox actually had a NetSheet feature for it. I told them to eliminate it because, in all honesty, I feel Fan Agent app, which is developed by another company in Texas, they do a great job on marketing pieces and all that. So that's why there's 2 different features. But yeah, so Fan Agent is NetSheet, Title Toolbox is Farming.
Nice, thanks online. Well, that is awesome, guys. Yeah, it goes right in line with what we're trying to move toward. We're trying to get back into farming and taking agents, getting ownership of individual areas. And this is a great way to pull that data and start marketing it.
Absolutely.
Any more
If
questions?
you guys have any questions that you can think of outside of the training, if you think of anything today or anything, just send me an email or give me a call.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Craig, for having us again.
Thank you for bringing it to us.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys soon.
Bye.
And
Bye,
for our
guys.
top agents, we have a top agent luncheon at the Rays game today at 1:10. You're supposed to download the app, the Ballpark app, to get your tickets. And then you just show your phone and on the app and you'll get in the stadium. We'll see you. The game starts at 1:10. We'll probably get there a little bit early because you got to park and walk. So see that group this afternoon. Thanks, everyone.
Have fun. Bye, guys.